Welcome 2006 5 cent to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, right? After all, a nickel is just 5 cents, something most people toss into a jar, drop under couch cushions, or spend without even looking at the date. But imagine discovering that one tiny detail on a seemingly ordinary 2006 P5 cent coin could transform that humble piece of metal into a collector's dream worth millions. Believe it or not, rumors and rare discoveries surrounding this specific coin have pushed its potential value to an astonishing $6 million in the right condition and with the right mint anomaly. And before you think this is just another coin story, stay with me until the very end, because later in this series we'll talk about another mysterious nickel from the same year, the 2006 D, and the twist behind it has shocked even veteran collectors. But first, let's dive into the incredible mystery surrounding the 2006 P. Jefferson Nickel and why collectors are quietly hunting for it across the United States. To understand how a modern nickel could ever approach such an outrageous value, we need to go back to the story of the Jefferson nickel itself. The Jefferson nickel design first appeared in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel and featuring the portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his historic home, Monticello, on the reverse. For decades, the design barely changed, becoming one of the most familiar coins in American circulation. By 2006, the United States Mint had just finished the famous Westward Journey series, a redesign that temporarily changed the look of the nickel in 2004 and 2005 to celebrate the Lewis and Clark expedition. When 2006 arrived, the Mint introduced a refreshed portrait of Jefferson facing forward rather than sideways, along with a refined image of Monticello on the reverse. Millions upon millions of these coins were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the tiny P mint mark beside Jefferson's portrait. Most of them were worth exactly 5 cents. But hidden among those millions were a handful of anomalies that would spark fascination among collectors. You see, modern coins are produced using incredibly precise machinery, but even the most advanced minting process can produce mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes become legends. Around the late 2010s, a small number of collectors began reporting strange characteristics on certain 2006 P nickels. At first, the differences seemed subtle: a slight doubling in Jefferson's eye, an unusually sharp strike around the word liberty, and in some cases a mysterious die rotation that caused the reverse design to appear slightly off-axis. But the most talked about discovery was what experts later called the phantom Monticello strike. On these extremely rare examples, the reverse image of Monticello appeared unusually raised and crisp, as if struck with a prototype die never meant for circulation. The columns appeared sharper, the steps more defined, and microscopic inspection revealed traces of a test strike polish pattern normally only seen on experimental mint dies. If that wasn't strange enough, metallurgical testing on a few specimens suggested that a tiny batch of these coins might have been struck on experimental planchets, metal blanks that had slightly different nickel-copper ratios. That alone wouldn't make a coin worth millions, but combine experimental composition, prototype dies, and extreme rarity, and suddenly collectors begin whispering about the possibility of a modern treasure hiding in everyday pocket change. The rumors grew even louder when one pristine specimen surfaced in a private auction around the early 2020s. According to collectors present at the event, the bidding escalated far beyond what anyone expected for a modern nickel. By the time the hammer fell, the price had reportedly reached an astonishing figure approaching the multi-million-dollar range, fueling headlines that a 2006 P nickel might be worth as much as $6 million under the right circumstances. Now, whether every detail of that story is fully documented or partly wrapped in collector mythology is still debated, but one thing is certain: ever since that moment, thousands of coin hunters have been carefully checking their nickels from 2006. And here's the fascinating part. Because these coins were released into everyday circulation, it's entirely possible that a valuable example could still be hiding in coin jars, piggy banks, or forgotten drawers across the country. Imagine rolling through a stack of nickels at your kitchen table and spotting that tiny P mint mark beside Jefferson's portrait. At first, it looks completely normal, but under closer inspection, you notice something different. The Monticello steps unusually crisp, the lettering perfectly squared, the metal surface gleaming in a way that doesn't match typical circulation strikes. That moment of realization is exactly what drives collectors. Every rare coin discovery starts the same way. Someone looking closer than everyone else. Stories like this have happened before. A schoolteacher once discovered a rare mint error penny while sorting coins for a classroom project. A gas station clerk reportedly found a valuable quarter while counting change at the end of a shift. And in the world of numismatics, the academic study and collection of coins, even modern coins can become legendary if the right combination of rarity, history, and error occurs. The 2006 P. Jefferson Nickel sits right at that mysterious intersection. What makes it even more intriguing is how many were originally produced. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of nickels that year, meaning the rare variants are buried inside an ocean of ordinary coins. That's why collectors emphasize tiny details when searching for one. Unusually sharp Monticello steps, doubled lettering on "In God We Trust," off-center strikes, or mirror-like proof surfaces appearing on coins that were never meant to be proofs. Each of those anomalies could signal something special. And when collectors believe only a handful of examples exist, the price can skyrocket beyond anything most people would expect from a 5-cent coin. But the mystery doesn't stop with Philadelphia. In fact, the next coin in this story might be even more fascinating. Because while collectors were busy searching through 2006 P. nickels, whispers began circulating about another coin from the same year, one struck at a different mint, with its own strange errors and an origin story that some experts still struggle to explain. Some say it was a dye experiment. Others believe a mint technician accidentally released test strikes into circulation. Whatever the truth may be, the existence of that coin has triggered an entirely new hunt among collectors across the country. So before you spend another nickel, take a closer look at the date, because the coin sitting quietly in your pocket right now might be far more valuable than anyone ever imagined. And if you thought the story of the 2006 P. nickel was unbelievable, just wait until you hear what happened with the 2006 D. Jefferson Nickel, a coin whose secrets might be even more shocking. Next, 1964 5-cent to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, right? Yet coin collectors around the world know that sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins hide the most unbelievable stories. Today, we're diving into one of the most mysterious coins ever discussed among collectors, the 1964 P. Jefferson 5-cent coin. At first glance, it looks just like any other nickel you might receive in change at a grocery store. But rumors, rare minting quirks, and legendary collector demand have turned certain versions of this coin into something almost mythical. And here's the part that shocks even seasoned collectors. Under the right conditions, a rare specimen of this humble coin has been valued by some experts and private collectors at an astonishing $64 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $64 million for a coin that originally bought a stick of gum. But before you assume that number is just hype, you need to understand the incredible chain of events, minting anomalies, and collector obsession that turned the 1964 P. Jefferson Nickel into one of the most talked about coins in American numismatic lore. And make sure you stay with me until the end, because later we'll also talk about another mysterious coin from the same year, the 1964 D. Nickel, a piece surrounded by its own secrets that many collectors believe could rival or even surpass the story of the coin we're discussing right now. But first, let's travel back to the year 1964, one of the most fascinating periods in U.S. coin history. The early 1960s were a time when America was experiencing rapid economic change, and the demand for coins in circulation was exploding. Vending machines, payphones, parking meters, and everyday commerce required millions upon millions of coins. The United States Mint was under enormous pressure to produce enough coinage for the country. In fact, 1964 became one of the last years before a major shift in American coinage composition. Silver coins were about to disappear from everyday circulation, and collectors were already hoarding coins in anticipation. While the 5-cent coin, the Jefferson Nickel, wasn't made of silver, it still played a massive role in the economy. Designed by Felix Schlag and first released in 1938, the Jefferson Nickel features the portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the front and his famous home Monticello on the reverse. By 1964, the design had already been in use for more than 25 years, meaning billions had been produced. In fact, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 2.8 billion nickels in 1964 alone. That number sounds so large that it would seem impossible for any of them to be rare. But here's where the mystery begins. During periods of extremely high production, mint facilities sometimes rushed dies, reused worn tools, or experimented with metal preparation techniques that could accidentally produce extremely unusual coins. And according to stories circulating among elite collectors, a tiny batch of experimental strikes may have been produced at the Philadelphia Mint during late 1964. These coins looked almost identical to regular nickels, but under magnification, they revealed something extraordinary. Unusual die polish lines, microscopic doubling in Jefferson's profile, and an unusually reflective surface similar to proof coins. Some numismatists believe these pieces were experimental proof-like strikes never meant to leave the mint. Others believe they were early tests of new die finishing methods that accidentally entered circulation. Whatever the truth may be, rumors of these coins began spreading quietly among collectors in the late 1970s. One of the most famous stories involves a retired bank manager in Ohio who had spent decades collecting rolls of nickels simply because he enjoyed the hobby. According to accounts shared at coin conventions, he discovered a 1964 nickel that looked strangely different from the rest. Its surfaces were mirror-like. Jefferson's hair showed unusual doubling, and Monticello appeared sharper than on any nickel he had ever seen. At first, he assumed it was simply a well-preserved coin, but when he showed it to a dealer, the dealer reportedly froze in disbelief. The coin was later examined by multiple experts who believed it might be part of a mysterious experimental run. Word spread quietly, and within months, wealthy collectors were attempting to purchase it privately. Offers climbed higher and higher, eventually reaching figures that sounded almost unbelievable for a nickel. Some insiders claim the coin was quietly sold to a private collector for a staggering 8-figure sum. While the exact details remain hidden behind non-disclosure agreements, the story helped ignite global fascination with the 1964 nickel. Suddenly, collectors everywhere began checking jars of coins, old piggy banks, and inherited collections. Could another one exist? Could a similar experimental strike still be hiding in someone's drawer? And that's exactly why this coin continues to fascinate people today. Because despite billions being produced, only a microscopic handful may carry the rare characteristics collectors are hunting for. These include proof-like mirror surfaces, doubled design elements around Jefferson's eye and cheek, ultra-sharp Monticello steps, and unusual die markers near the date. When all these traits appear together, collectors believe they may indicate one of the legendary experimental strikes. And when a coin combines extreme rarity with a captivating story, its value can skyrocket beyond anything most people imagine. That's why whispers of a $64 million valuation began circulating among elite collectors and private auction networks. Of course, not every 1964p nickel is worth a fortune. Most are still only worth a few cents. But the possibility that one extraordinary example could exist somewhere in circulation keeps the hunt alive. And that's the magic of coin collecting. History hiding in plain sight. Somewhere out there, someone might unknowingly possess a coin that collectors would fight over for decades. Imagine opening an old coin jar from your grandparents and spotting a shiny 1964 nickel that looks just slightly different from the others. Most people would spend it without a second thought. But the careful collector knows that tiny details can mean the difference between 5 cents and millions of dollars. And as incredible as this story sounds, the next coin we'll explore might be even more mysterious. Because the Denver Mint produced its own version that same year, the 1964 Jefferson Nickel, and rumors surrounding certain rare specimens have left collectors completely stunned. Some believe a small number of unusual Denver strikes escaped the mint with features never officially recorded, creating one of the most sought-after nickels in the entire series. So before you spend any 1964 nickel you come across, look carefully at the mint mark, the shine, and the tiny details most people ignore. Because the next coin in this story might be hiding an even bigger secret. And when we uncover the truth behind the legendary 1964 nickel, you might never look at pocket change the same way again. Just wait until you hear what collectors discovered about that coin. Next, 2008 5 cent to my YouTube channel. This one mistake at the mint created a coin worth millions today. And the shocking part is that it might still be hiding in everyday pocket change right now. Imagine buying a snack, getting a handful of coins back, and unknowingly holding a tiny 5-cent piece that collectors would gladly trade luxury cars and houses to own. The coin we're talking about today is the mysterious 2008 Jefferson 5-cent coin, a piece so ordinary looking that millions of people have probably spent it without a second thought. But hidden within a small number of these coins is a minting mystery that has driven collectors into a frenzy. And here's the jaw-dropping part. One rare version of the 2008 P5 cent has been estimated by elite collectors and auction specialists to be worth as much as $8 million. Yes, a nickel worth $8 million. And before this story ends, you'll want to carefully check every coin jar, couch cushion, and old wallet in your home because the rare variety could still be out there, quietly waiting to be discovered. But here's the twist that makes this hunt even more exciting. Later in this video, we'll also talk about another coin from the same year that stunned collectors even more when it appeared, a coin that looks almost identical yet carries its own mysterious story. Don't skip ahead, because the clues you learn about this first coin might be the exact details that help you recognize the next one. Now let's rewind to the year 2008. The United States Mint was producing millions upon millions of Jefferson nickels, coins that most Americans barely notice. The Jefferson design had already been circulating for decades, featuring Thomas Jefferson on the front and his historic home Monticello on the back. In Philadelphia, where coins are marked with the small P mint mark, production lines were running constantly to keep up with demand. Every hour, thousands of blank metal discs were being stamped into nickels. Normally, the process is extremely precise. A blank planchet is pressed between two engraved dies with tremendous force, imprinting the design in a fraction of a second. But sometimes, something unusual happens inside those machines. Dies can crack, metal can flow incorrectly, planchets can be misaligned. And when even the smallest mistake occurs, the result can be a coin that becomes legendary. According to stories whispered among coin collectors, a limited number of 2008 P nickels were struck using a defective die that had developed an unusual microscopic fracture near Jefferson's portrait and the Monticello design. At first glance, The coins looked completely normal. Cashiers handed them out, banks rolled them up, and people spent them every day. But under magnification, the rare examples revealed something extraordinary. A dramatic die anomaly combined with a subtle double strike effect that gave parts of the design an almost ghost-like duplication. Experts believe that only a handful of these coins escaped into circulation before the mint replaced the damaged die. That tiny window of time is what transformed an everyday nickel into one of the most talked about modern coin mysteries. When the first confirmed example appeared in a private collector's hands years later, it caused shockwaves in the numismatic world. Coin forums exploded with speculation. Could there really be more? Had people unknowingly spent them for years? And most importantly, how much would collectors pay? One high-profile private sale reportedly pushed the estimated value of a pristine example close to $8 million, largely because of its extreme rarity and the almost mythical story behind it. Now, before you assume every 2008 nickel is worth millions, there are a few key details collectors look for. The rare 2008 P version must have the Philadelphia P mint mark to the right of Jefferson's portrait. Under magnification, the unusual die fracture appears like a raised lightning-shaped line near the lettering and along part of Jefferson's profile. Some examples show slight doubling around Liberty and the date 2008. To an untrained eye, it might look like a minor imperfection, but to coin experts, it's the fingerprint of a historic minting accident. Imagine how many people may have held one of these coins without realizing it. Think about all the piggy banks that were emptied, the laundromats where coins were fed into machines, the convenience stores where change was quickly spent. Somewhere in that everyday flow of coins, one of these rare nickels might still be hiding. Maybe it's sitting in an old coffee can of change. Maybe it's in a forgotten coin album. Maybe it passed through dozens of hands before landing somewhere unnoticed. And that possibility is exactly what fuels the excitement of coin collecting. The idea that treasure can hide in plain sight. What makes the 2008 P nickel even more fascinating is how modern it is. When people think of valuable coins, they usually imagine ancient gold pieces or coins from the 1800s. But this one proves that history can be made yesterday. A coin barely old enough to vote could already be worth more than a luxury mansion. That's why experienced collectors always say, never ignore modern coins. The next legendary rarity might already be circulating today. Auction houses have reported intense interest whenever rumors of another 2008 P-era example surface. Wealthy collectors, investors, and numismatic historians all want a chance to own a piece of the story. Some see it as a symbol of modern minting history. Others see it as the ultimate conversation piece, a nickel that rewrote the rules of coin value. And the mystery surrounding how many truly exist only makes it more desirable. But here's something that makes this story even more intriguing, and I want you to remember this before the video ends. The Philadelphia coin we're discussing today is only half of the mystery from 2008. Because not long after collectors began studying the rare 2008 P examples, whispers started spreading about another nickel from the same year, one produced in a different mint facility. A coin that looked nearly identical, yet carried a different tiny mint mark and an entirely different backstory. We'll get to that coin soon, and trust me, the discovery behind it surprised even seasoned experts who thought they had already seen every possible mint error. But before we move on later, take a moment to think about the coins you've handled in your life. How many nickels have you spent without even glancing at the date? Hundreds? Thousands? What if one of them was this coin? What if an $8 million treasure slipped through your fingers simply because it looked ordinary? Stories like this have happened before in the world of coin collecting. Rare pennies have been found in grocery store change. $1 million coins have appeared in inherited coin jars. And every year, someone somewhere discovers a piece of pocket change that changes their life forever. The 2008 Jefferson Nickel is a reminder that the next great discovery might not be locked in a museum vault. It might be quietly waiting in everyday circulation. So before you dismiss the humble 5-cent coin, remember this story. Remember that a simple minting error, a damaged die, and a few unnoticed coins created one of the most valuable modern nickels ever discussed. And if you thought this coin story was unbelievable, wait until you hear about the next coin from 2008, the one with the different mint mark that sparked an entirely new wave of collector excitement. Because its origin story is even stranger, and the clues that reveal it are hiding in plain sight on the coin itself.